Hello there, it's History Tutor here with another lesson to help you with your GCSE history studies. And this time we're looking at Britain, health and the people, and we're going to look at the Black Death and just how significant was it. Okay, so as I said, we're going to look at the Black Death and the significance question, and this can be tricky for people, not quite sure what significance means and what's that all about. So we're going to think about that first. We're going to think about what does it mean to be significant and how to answer that question. We're then going to be having a little quiz on significant ideas about the Black Death, and then we're going to obviously work through an answer. So find this in your revision guide and start to recap your knowledge of the Black Death, and we're then going to go over now to think about what makes an event significant. Okay, let's take a look at the question then, shall we? It says, explain the significance of the Black Death to the development of treatments in England or Britain, it could say as well. This is always going to be the question 2 style in the AQA exam. It's always going to be a significance question. So obviously it's slightly different. We're going to think about what that means. So have a look at the words in the question. Word explain, significant, the fact it's 8 marks, and then find the page in your revision guide and start to list down what you think would make a good success criteria. What do you think would be in the mark scheme? How many paragraphs are you going to write? What sort of skills are you going to show? So pause me now and jot your ideas. Okay, so here's what I've gone for. So it is 8 marks. You need 2 peel paragraphs to explain your ideas. You need to explain 2 ideas of significance. It is a significance question about the Black Death. So your point should be about the significance of the Black Death, not just about the Black Death. For our significance, we should use what I'm going to call the list criteria, and I'll explain that in a minute. We should give evidence to back up our point, and that evidence should be about the Black Death, of course. But importantly, we're then going to explain the significance of the Black Death. So that could be its impact over time, impact on people. We need to have ways in which it is significant. And we can have wider ideas of significance to build on that for 7 or 8 marks. So, as I said in the previous part of the video, we'd have a think about what significance means and this idea of lists criteria. So each of those letters stands for a word. I've already given you a bit of a hint about one of them. So L stands for long-term impact. So pause and have a think. What do you think I, S, T, and S might stand for to make an event significant? Okay, so here's my ideas about it. And this might be a useful reminder for you to think about your paragraphs in a significance question. So of course we've got long-term impact. We've also got important people and places. So an event could be significant. It involves like a member of the royal family or somebody really important. Size and scale involves huge amounts of people or places. Or today, we still talk about it today, perhaps makes it significant. Or it has a massive short-term impact, causing another big event afterwards. So now apply those ideas to these examples. You'll find them in the revision guide. You can simply just annotate which is for which part of the list criteria, and it could be more than one. So which ones do you think are long-term? Which ones involve important people or places? Which have real short-term impact? Which are still around today? And which have a big size and scale impact? So pause me now and have a think. Okay, so here's my answers. So I've gone for some long-term ideas. So firstly, that people start to lose faith in religion because obviously lots of religious people died, and similarly prayer didn't really stop the Black Death. Also, the Black Death started to end ideas like serfdom and create more wealth for peasants. Obviously, it's going to help them be more healthy over time. Got important people. So we've got Guy de Chauliac helped save the Pope, and his miasma ideas and isolating the Pope obviously helped with that, so that promoted those ideas. Also, Black Death was the cause of the Peasants' Revolt. Now, that's also a short-term impact, but the king obviously was involved in this. You could argue that it's important people and places, if you like, and this was because the peasants were getting paid too much money and the king tried to control it. We've got a short-term impact that the Black Death led to massive wage increases for peasants, as I just mentioned, and obviously that increasing wealth. Obviously, I think a fair amount of these things are about today, but I haven't chosen to choose that one as a major idea. One of the biggest factors, of course, is size and scale. 40 to 50% of the population died in England and Britain. Black Death is a huge epidemic spreading from China all across Europe, so huge amounts of people are impacted. And the Black Death led to a large amount of clergy dying. Obviously, they went to the dead or dying people to give them last rites or a blessing. And so obviously they were more likely to catch the disease because of that. But it showed that the church was not really in a position to stop disease, and it led to the idea that I said at the start, that people start to lose faith in religion to some extent at this time. Okay then, so how are we going to write this answer? So we're still going to do our appeal paragraph, and you can see an example here on the screen. So we make a point, one way the Black Death was significant to the development of treatments was, and set a list idea, because it had a big long-term impact, for instance. Then we're going to have an example. That example should be about the Black Death, and then we can explain this was significant because, and we can use our knowledge based on a list of criteria to explain our ideas. We can try and do a furthermore we want to gain to those top marks. So now, coming up with your idea. Now, I've started off for us, and I've said one way the Black Death was significant to the development of treatments was because it led to the death of huge amounts of people, and so many people moved away from the normal cures of the Christian church. So then we give a bit of evidence. So pause me now. What evidence would you give to back up that statement? Think about our thoughts just a minute ago. So I've gone for example, around 50% of the population died, and this included around 70% of the clergy. Nice simple example. So now explain the impact of this. This was significant to treatment in Britain because, okay, so how did it change treatment? How did it change ideas people had? Moving from superstitious to new ideas? Have a think. Jot down your ideas. Okay, so I said this was significant to treatment in Britain because the death of a large amount of the people made people realise the current superstitious treatments did not work. This meant people looked towards new ideas. For instance, Guy de Chauliac treated the Pope with purified air using large fires as people started to move towards the idea of miasma and abandon superstitious ideas. Okay, can you think about furthermore? Okay, maybe there's a furthermore about the Christian church losing some of its importance over time that is significant. Have a think. Pause me now and give it a go. Okay, so I said, furthermore, the large amounts of priests that died convinced people that religious cures did not work. They questioned why so many priests died in Black Death and whether it was a punishment from God. This led to some religious people turning to more direct religious action like flagellation, as they thought the institution of the church had failed them. So we've got more extreme religious ideas developing. You can talk about flagellants if you wanted to. Okay, so now give a second paragraph a go. Maybe you can think about long-term impact, or maybe even linked to today, perhaps, if you can. As you can see, a writing frame there, you just say another way to Black Death was significant development treatment was, give your reason using lists, give some evidence about the Black Death, and then explain the impact. If you're doing long-term, you might want to link to some events further on in time. So pause me now and give it a go. So here's my idea then. So another way the Black Death was significant to the development of treatments was because it led to a long-term change as doctors started to move away from the treatments suggested by the church. For example, the church promoted the ideas of the four humours. The church liked Galen's ideas, as Galen said the human body is perfect, which was similar to the ideas of the Bible. This was significant because in the long term, the Black Death inspired change. By the time of the Great Plague, doctors wore large robes against bad air and used miasma treatments like sweet smells, and in the time of cholera people even promoted the smell of cigars to stop disease. So there you can see I haven't really explained anything about the Black Death. I've just said people abandoned the ideas and it led to change, and I've backed it up with ideas from a totally different time period, which is the point of this exam topic, to explain change over time. So then you can link to furthermore, this was significant because by the 1800s, the idea of bad air led to people eventually realising that bacteria cause these, as people like Snow and Pasteur investigated the air to eventually find the correct treatment for diseases. Okay, maybe a bit of a tenuous furthermore, but still, I'm creating an argument, and that's the skill we're trying to do here. Hello, please allow me to interrupt with a short announcement about revision guides that I offer. These revision guides are packed full of revision notes and videos to help you, quizzes to help you, and up to 15 exam questions explained per revision guide. So if you need help and you need all your revision notes and you want to know how to get a top answer for up to 15 different exam questions, then take a look at these revision guides. Also, if you want to know more or you want my help one-to-one, then take a look at my website to find out more about my revision guides and ways that I can offer help. Now, back to the video. Okay, well, I hope you found it useful to developing your skills around the significance question, but also a good recap on the Black Death. So if you found it useful, do take a look at my playlist, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also take a look at my revision guide. Loads more questions and help and notes in there for your GCSE history studies. Okay, bye-bye for now.